Wow. Is that beautiful? That's called morning prayer. Let's give some more love to Diana, Brian, and Karen. And to yourself. That song is one of my favorite Karen Drucker songs. I suggest perhaps you get that song. You can listen to morning prayer on Karen's website. You can also find it on YouTube. On her website, which is karendrucker.com, she has it available for a download for a whopping 99 cents. It is on what is called her album called Songs of Spirit 4. So in case you are looking for it, she has Songs of Spirit 1 through 100 probably, but Songs of Spirit 4, the song is called Morning Prayer. And that was such a beautiful rendition of it, and thank you so much. It's March. Can you believe it's already March? I kind of was looking forward to March and would it hurry up, but now it's here. And it's not just March, but we started to have the feeling of spring last week. Of course, that's not really the feeling today, but that's March. Lion, lamb, lamb, lion. We also have next week, we're having daylight savings time, so we're springing forward, which means what? It means it's lighter later. Anybody besides me that's happy about that? Yeah, right? Lighter later. So I'm looking forward to that. Then we also have something that began last Wednesday. Some of you may or may not be familiar with the term Lent. Lent was not something that I was familiar with until I started being the senior minister in Tahoe Truckee Center for Spiritual Living. Now, I'll give you a little background of what Lent is. How many of you are familiar with Lent? Okay, I see most of us, some of us do and some of us don't. Well, this is just a quick overview of Lent. The word Lent actually comes from the Anglo-Saxon word meaning spring, and it comes from the verb to lengthen, which means it's when the days get longer, noticeably longer, that's when Lent begins. This is an annual season of fasting, prayer, and penitence that has been observed by the Western Church since the first century after Christ, although it wasn't always 40 days long. In more recent times, it was kept to 40 days after the example of Moses and Elijah, and also to commemorate the 40 days of Jesus, who fasted and prayed out in the desert for 40 days. The first day of Lent, which is called Ash Wednesday, was a custom that prevailed in the early church as they sprinkled ashes on the heads of folks in token of the repentance for sin. Now, we here at Unity, how do I translate repentance of sin? Because we don't believe that we're sinful by nature. Repentance means to turn away from, to turn away. So what are we turning away from? And what is sin? Well, sin is actually an archery term that means missing the mark. For me, it's turning away from erroneous thinking, thoughts that are not based in truth. Ash Wednesday comes 46 days before Easter. There are 6 Sundays in Lent, and they're not considered part of Lent because in the Western Church, Sunday is always a feast day. So the 40 weekdays, beginning with Ash Wednesday, actually constitute Lent. So, metaphysically, this is from the Cher Holton, who is a Unity minister. Basically, Lent stands for the voluntary retreat from the world to release false beliefs, error thinking, and denying our innate divinity. It's about fasting and feasting. Most people traditionally give something up for Lent. It might be chocolate, alcohol, smoking, might be watching TV, might be meat. There's a lot of things that, in the effort to be more aligned with spirit and to prepare for the Easter resurrection. From a spiritual perspective, there's only one kind of fasting. That's abstaining from error thoughts, which hinder our awareness of our oneness with Spirit. I like this. The dieting we advocate during Lent is dieting from doubts, fasting from false beliefs and fear, abstaining from the belief that we are unworthy, and to eliminate the idea that we're sinful by nature, because the truth is we are divine by nature. So what did Jesus teach about fasting? He says, whenever you fast, do not look dismal like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces to show others that they're fasting. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that your fasting may not be seen by others, but by the Spirit who is breathing you. When you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face. Would you like to know what that means metaphysically? Yeah. I think so. I think it's pretty cool. Oil, metaphysically, stands for the consciousness of love. The consciousness of love. And washing your face represents clarity. So what he's actually saying is when you stop giving power to false beliefs and error thinking, you will gain the clarity you need by bathing your thoughts in love. Doesn't that sound good? Right? So stop. And here's I have an acronym for Lent. Let's end negative thinking. Let's say that together. Let's end negative thinking. Yeah. So we are going to fast from negative thinking. And when you catch yourself with a negative thought, ask yourself, is that true? Is that truth? Or is that something because you'll know the difference between truth and not truth. If it makes you feel bad, it's not truth. It's going to be uplifting, raising consciousness, seeing light and love as everything. And that's a challenge. So we're fasting, but we're also feasting. And here's the difference between fast and feast in just in the spelling of the word. You're adding one letter. One letter to fast becomes feast. Isn't that interesting? For those that are taking the class with me, you know. Isn't that interesting? So you add the E. And Cher Holton, and they were looking at the different E's, what that E could stand for, and they thought enlightenment. When you're feasting on truth, you're enlightened. So we are becoming enlightened as we feast on truth and we eliminate those thoughts that are false. So have you ever had a thought like, I'm not good enough? I can't have that. There's no way that's going to happen. How about our world's messed up? Come on. Anybody, all of you have at times we got murders, we got violence, we've got war, we've got disease. You watch the news. Is the world messed up? Yeah. Right? Now, have you ever wondered why do we only see negative news for the most part on the news channels? Anybody? You wonder, why don't we show the good news? Would you like to know why? It's actually because it's out of the ordinary. The truth is, there is more good, more positive, loving, caring things going on in the world. What they're doing is they're showing you anything that is contrary. However, what happens is that's all we see in the news. So we begin to believe that our world is crummy, rotten, messed up, you name it. And is there any hope for this world today? So think about that as to why we see that all the time. Now, the talk title today is called Mission Impossible. Of course, there was a question mark there. So how can we possibly create heaven on earth? How can we do that? Any answers? Love. So, how do we create heaven on earth? Well, here's the truth. Everything, and I mean everything, begins and ends where? And I see people pointing to their heart. And it is the heart, but it also is consciousness. Everything starts and ends in consciousness. Deepak Chopra, in his book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, speaks about we are pure consciousness. We're just ignorant of the fact. And in pure consciousness, there is pure potentiality. Everything is possible when we realize that. Now, consciousness there's 3 levels of it. There's our conscious awareness being it's attached to our senses and what we're thinking right here and right now. We're conscious, we're awake, we're aware of the senses, and our thoughts are running. Then we have, of course, that iceberg, underneath the iceberg, which is this huge subconscious area. The subconscious is the place of memories. It's the place where everything is the storehouse of memories, of thoughts, of things that are below the surface, not even aware that we have these things running. It's like a computer program that you can't see that is running. You can see everything on your desktop. That's your consciousness. Underneath the surface, there's viruses, there's all kinds of things going on. And part of it is race consciousness. There is the world's view, and what happens and what we're fed goes into that. A lot of life is actually running by not what I consciously say, but what's underneath the consciousness. An example, I used to consciously say, I have the love of my life. I have the love of my life. I have the love of my life. And that was conscious. Underneath the surface, there was a part of me that said, love hurts. Okay, love hurts. Do I want to hurt? No. Therefore, love hurts, I'm keeping it away. I have the love that I want. I have the love that I want. What is actually coming into my life is the subconscious, blocking that love. I can say all I want, but until I'm aligned with my subconscious beliefs, and that's why in counseling, spiritual counseling, we work together to discover, to bring to the light those subconscious beliefs so that we can shine the light of truth on them and dissolve them, and then we can rise up in consciousness. It's about that rising up. So, mission possible. Turning that mission impossible into possible. How do we go? Oh, I know, I almost forgot the important part. I've told you 2 kinds of consciousness. What about the superconsciousness? Have you ever heard that term? The superconsciousness is Christ consciousness. It is the awareness that everyone and everything is divine. It's the Buddha nature. It is that place of truth and light and love. There is in truth, there's only one mind. It's God's mind. And we can connect, we can tune in and tap in to the truth consciousness. That's how we go from mission impossible to mission possible, is how to tap into the superconscious mind, which is available to us, but we need to know how to enter that superconsciousness. Deepak Chopra, again in chapter 1 of his book that we're studying, talks about 3 methods, actually, going out in nature, but he talks a lot about silence and meditation. Because when we stop the conscious da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and we go into that place of silence, we can connect to that one that is breathing us. There's another method, and Charles Fillmore formulated the idea that there are 12 spiritual powers or abilities that we all have that we're born with. However, if we aren't aware of our 12 powers, if we don't develop them and use them, then what's the point? But we have these 12 powers that are based off of the 12 disciples. We have these powers, and my job, my pleasure actually, is to become more aware and develop these with you, because together, as we tap into these powers, develop them and use them, we create heaven on earth. So I'm doing a 12-month study each month on one of the 12 powers. The first month, January, what was the power we used? Very good. Imagination. We have to have an imagination, a vision of what we would like life to be like. Without a vision, the people will perish. See, we all have stories, we all have past, and we have present. But if we don't have a vision of who we are and what we would love life to be, we will stay stuck in the same story. We will not move forward. That is why I start the year with imagination. You can't go anywhere without that vision. So we have to employ the vision, and you can do it every day, and to get into the feeling as if it was so. So that's one of the powers that we want to use. The second one I used we got into last month, which was the power of love. That's right, love. Because two things about love. Love is actually who we are. And most of us forget that we are love, and so is everybody else. The second thing is, when I say mission impossible, what is our mission? Our mission is to remember who we are as beings of divine love, and to remember it for everybody, even those that are not acting very loving. That is a challenge. But you know what? We're at war. We see a war, physical war, right here and right now with Russia and Ukraine, and the horrendous devastation, the fear, all that is going on, and I believe we're all affected by it. Last night I watched the Paralympics, some of the highlights, and I cried when Ukraine, the athletes in the Paralympics, walked in. My heart just breaks for the people and how they can be there doing the work representing their nation and having such fear around families, cities, and devastation. We're all affected by it. So what is ours to do? Is there anything that I can do, that you can do, to create heaven on earth, to have the type of peace that passes all understanding, regardless of the situation, circumstances, and conditions of our world? Would you like to be that type of peace? See, peace in the world begins with me. We sing that every Sunday. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. We also say that and as our mission, we're here to raise consciousness. We have to raise our consciousness to that super consciousness in order to transform lives, to heal our planet. And who does it begin with? Me. I talked about Ho'oponopono, the prayer of forgiveness and reconciliation, these last 2 weeks. I'm going to stay with that because I think that is one of the most powerful teachings. For me to take responsibility for everything that happens in the world, that's a challenge. But you know what? It's time to rise up. We have to rise up. We are spiritual warriors. We are at war. And what are we at war with? Despair, giving up, hopelessness. We have to rise up. So, mission possible. How do we engage in that mission possible? I'm going to give you ways to do this because it starts with us. We want to see peace on earth. The war in Ukraine and Russia is actually an outpicturing of the mental consciousness of our world. How many of you have ever bullied someone or been bullied? Even if you're bullying yourself in your own mind or someone else. How many of you have ever felt superior to someone else? Okay, come on. You know you have. Have you ever felt inferior, less than, right? Have you ever hated someone? Have you ever hated yourself? Have you ever used tactics to get something you wanted that weren't very loving? Yeah, I'm here to call us on the carpet, but if I don't own it, if I don't admit and take responsibility, how many of you have ever forgotten who you are? I know, every single one of us, okay? The war, Russia as the bully, and it's not Russia, it is the Russian government, okay? I do not want to call Russia the problem. The people there are suffering just as much as the people in Ukraine. So, you want to know what you can do to create peace on earth and make this mission of heaven on earth possible? Number one, we're going to employ our imagination. I challenge you, I invite you, I implore you to use the gift of your imagination, that power, that you imagine what peace looks like on earth. Close your eyes for just a moment while I say these words. To imagine peace on earth, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Imagining that I am peace embodied. If I am the expression of divine peace, how does my body feel? As the body of peace, how do I move in the world? As peace, how do I speak to others? As peace, how do I speak to myself? To engage in this twice a day is what I'm giving you as your prescription. This is the prescription for peace on earth, heaven on earth. Mission possible. In the morning when you wake up, when you go to bed at night, every day, I'm peace. How do I move? How does my body feel? Next, I'm going to go back to the Ho'oponopono prayer of, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I want us to say that to ourselves for the harm that we've caused ourselves, because we do, and we know we do. I'm sorry. I forgot who I was, who I am. Please forgive me for being a bully to myself. I love you. To myself. Thank you for being who you are. You're perfect as you are. These words are powerful when they're said. So starting with yourself, but also say these same words. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. Say those to the people of Ukraine. Say those to the people of Russia. Say that to the Russian government and those that are forgotten who they are. Because if we don't remember, and here's the thing, Lazarus, who was dead in a tomb, by all intents and purposes, we don't judge by appearances. He was in the tomb. He was dead to the truth. Jesus refused to see the appearance and said, you are the divine, get up. Because we have that same power that Jesus, the great way shower, had. When I can remember, when you don't remember for yourself, I can trigger the part of you that knows the truth of who you are, and we do that for the Russian government. They need our prayers, not our hate, not our condemnation, and not our judgment. So we're working with these properties of abilities of imagination, and we're extending love. What's love got to do with it? I didn't speak of this last week, but in 1 Corinthians 13, it says, if I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have the faith to move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to service that I may boast, but do not have love, I am nothing. What's love got to do with it? It's got everything to do with it. So, we're using the power of our imagination. We're imagining peace. I am peace. You are peace. We are peace. Ho'oponopono as our expression of prayer, of seeing good, the divine, the truth, when it doesn't look like it's there. And we need one third element to create this world, this mission, impossible. You want to know what it is? Okay, good. If you'd said no, then I would be done. We'd be done early, but no, we'd be done on time. The power that we're going into for the month of March, and we'll spend the next 3 weeks on it, it's the power of faith. You need to have faith and to see beyond what is apparent. Faith, what is faith? It's the assurance of things hoped for. It is the conviction of things not seen. How many of you have faith? How many of you feel like you don't have a lot of faith? How many of you waver, having faith, not having faith? And how many of you feel like you could strengthen and have more faith? I knew I'd see everybody, even those online. So we're going to be looking at ways to strengthen and empower ourselves in faith. Now, Emily Cady in Lessons of Truth, she speaks of faith as that there's levels. Did you know that there is a faith condominium? Anyone? Have you ever heard of the faith condo? I had not. The book called Power Up Your Life, which is on the 12 powers, there's a power condo. The basement is despair. In that condo, the basement is despair. It's no hope. However, we want to get to the first floor, and that level of faith is called hope. Hope is when there's a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. There's possibility. It may be small, like the faith of a mustard seed, but that is enough to start peace. Hope, I saw this acronym, I'm thinking, Spirit just brings it. Hope, I saw it on Facebook, of course, the place where I find so many things. Hope, the acronym for hope is hang on, pain's ending. Is that right? What did I say? Hope, yes, pain ends. Oh, that's it, pain ends. So hang on, pain ends. So we want to get to that level of hope, because there is a possibility. But it's not very strong. It's very shaky ground. We want to go to the next level. The next level is called blind faith. Blind faith is when you believe everything's going to be fine and okay and God is there, but you have no idea why you even believe that. You're just willing to believe it, but no substance. And you still can have doubt in that state of blind faith. Oh, I know it's going to be fine. I have no idea, which is fine. It's good. But there is one more level. It's the penthouse of faith, and it's called understanding faith. Understanding faith is actually understanding that there are laws in the universe, that laws that actually respond to the way we think and our vibration. When we understand the laws of the universe, that they are just as physical as gravity, that whatever we participate in these laws and these powers, we will get results. We have absolute faith. It's going to happen because it's the law. And the teachers, the metaphysical teachers, talk about God being personal and impersonal. The impersonal is the law of God. In fact, love is often the principle because personal can fluctuate in relationship, but the law always works every time for everyone. So faith is the key that's going to really ignite the imagination and the love. So we want to make this impossible possible. You know, on my own, I can't make anything possible. I might, but I might not. But the phrase that I use, the credo that I stand on in the ground of truth is, with God, all things are possible. When you have fears and doubts and worries, say that line. With God, all things are possible. It's like having a fear, doubt, and worry, and then you shoot a balloon with the arrow saying, with God, all things are possible, and it deflates it. It puts it back into its native nothingness. So, taking the impossible, you break down the word impossible. I'm possible. I'm possible. I'm possible because I'm utilizing the power of imagination, the power of love, and the power of faith. It's time to trust, to strengthen the muscle of faith, knowing that as we do so in these next few weeks, we will transform lives, beginning with ourselves. Let's work and be that trust. We can do it. That's right. Say that again. I'm right. She says, I can do it. So we can do it, and we believe it, and we know it to be so. We trust, and so it is.